Town Hall 18 is coming soon, so I wanted to discuss everything that I would like to see with the update. I thought it would be an interesting topic here for the second channel. Obviously, a new troop, a new defense, things that are unique to Town Hall 18, I would clearly want to be added. What I would like the most out of those are for them to open up new strategy possibilities. Now, I know that's really hard for the team to be able to foresee that, but it is something they can work towards. And even by assuring that, let's say the new troop, it has a totally new type of mechanic, let the players come up with the strategy as well. That can be a double-edged sword because it means there might not be a use case in mind, so there might not be one. And equally, as we've seen before, they can't test things on a scale that everyone would come up with creatively. So it might be that whatever they release is then just not balanced and it's too overpowered. Either way, more variety in more strategies is good. They can tweak things after if they need to, but right now, I would say on top of anything else, what I would love to see as part of the Town Hall update is a shift in the meta. Whilst what I think we had at the start of Town Hall 17 was good, we had a lot of different options that were viable, the Electro Boots kind of changed all of that because it really meant that the Royal Champion charge into Root Riders or into Dragons were the best options. Whilst other things might be viable, that's what is meant by the meta. Whatever is the most viable, the strongest, the most consistent, and we haven't really seen the variety there. I think with the new ranked mode and the adjustments we've seen over the year to the esports mode, now they could actually do that to a better degree because they don't have to worry about the balance being this one encompassing thing that is perfect for everybody, which was never going to be the case. And don't get me wrong, even now that they have multiple modifiers, they're still not going to find that absolute sweet spot for every single person because we equally have different desires. Some people will want their hit rate to be a lot higher. They see the satisfaction in that. Other people want to be able to grind for that 3-star. That's something that is just so difficult to get the perfect balance for everybody. But at least now that we have modifiers, it makes it a bit easier for them. Essentially, they could buff a whole host of strategies. Now, I highly doubt we will get new levels to the Root Rider. That's why we didn't get a new level at Town Hall 17, by the way, because they were already high use rate and high success rate. Moving into Town Hall 17, they didn't need a new level, and I highly doubt we'll get a new level to Dragons either. At least not initially. Whenever balance changes are made, the team will look at the use rate and the success rate of strategies. Let's say they only looked at success rate. If the usage rate was really low, that could mean that it's a high skill troop, and that's why the usage rate is low, because the super competitive players use it. But if something is used all of the time and is equally successful all of the time, that's when they need to nerf things. Essentially, they could do an indirect nerf to a lot of these strategies by just not giving them new levels at Town Hall 18. The new levels for other troops, they could give pretty significant buffs to or level increments in order to try and bring that variety back into the meta. I'm not saying they shouldn't bring new troop levels to those throughout the lifespan of Town Hall 18, but especially initially, they should be hand-selecting the troops where they can bring a bit more variety. The Root Riders and Dragons should absolutely still work. What I would not want them to do is completely rug pull strategies so they're just no longer usable. Right now, we have the Root Riders, the Dragons, and for the more competitive players, the Warden charge into Rocket Loons most of the time. Those strategies should still work. Maybe they're not as effective, but they should still work. However, there should be the encouragement to try other strategies. Maybe the meta does shift across there, and it means that within time, you can learn and develop your skills in a new strategy in order to have even better success with that. Because there is always that learning period. Clearly, people don't like change. You like to be able to stick with what you have. But I feel like maybe that's where we've had the meta the way it is as well, because things did just work. especially for those players that were a bit more competitive. However, now with, the legend modifiers, those players may be on the hunt to find different strategies, and that is important. Variety in gameplay is something that keeps it fresh for everybody. But again, what should happen is that if someone really likes a strategy, they shouldn't be forced to switch it, at least not immediately. It should be a gradual thing, which is exactly what happened with the Root Riders, for example. Prior to Town Hall 16, no one used Root Riders, everyone relied on other strategies, but then something else came along which you could switch to and then learn. That's how the meta should be adjusted, not necessarily nerfing things into the ground, but giving good level increments to those troops that are getting new levels, and potentially even a strong new troop which could be used as an alternative. Yes, even defense-wise, there should be new mechanics there that give new options to base builders as well, and that's equally where it can shake up the meta. Defense, I do think they have to be a bit more careful with. Even if something is strong, they need to assure that when they are bringing a defense, it is planned that there is a direct counter to it. For example, when the Monolith came out at Town Hall 15, very strong, powerful defense, that is a good thing. It makes the Monolith popular, but equally, it can be countered. Place a skeleton spell there, and it's not that effective. Now, what I'm not necessarily talking about with these changes is the balance as such. I think right now the game is actually in a good spot because of the modifiers. Those that always said, oh, the game's too easy, well then now in Legend mode, you can actually have a lot more impact in offense. You're not necessarily going to have perfect days again and again. Even if you can do it once, it's not easy to replicate that, and getting up the leaderboard really does give you that grind. Clan Wars, I think, is a separate story because right now, at least for the more advanced clans, you do have those perfect wars. So I'd like to see some adjustments there. The team have hinted towards changing Clan Wars a little bit. We don't necessarily see perfect as much in CWL, at least not in those higher level clans. Like in Champ 1, we don't really see it too much. But I wouldn't want to see one-hit Clan Wars because then, well, it just wouldn't be as fun. They would have to adjust all of the ore and everything like that. But either way, I'd like to see some changes there. But the balance overall, I think, is kind of in a good spot. It's more the meta itself that needs changing, or at least giving more options, shall we say. Now, there's a couple of other things I would like to see, but I also did want to say I intended to sit down with Itsu for this video to get his perspective as well. Prior to Town Hall 17, we discussed the balance and the meta. I thought it was really interesting. We just ran out of time at this year's World Finals, so hopefully next year that is something that we could do. However, I'm not sure whether this first one we would see with Town Hall 18, although I would like it. A big complaint I still see from the community is the economy, particularly when it comes to the ore economy. Now, we have been told we wouldn't be getting any new levels or equipment levels at Town Hall 18, which hopefully will help with that. We've also been told that we can expect some sort of rework or improvement to economy. We kind of seen that in a way with the ranked mode, but I hope that is in place should they decide to expand equipment levels in the future, because even though they said it wasn't coming with Town Hall 18, they didn't rule it out altogether. They just said they'd be trying to balance equipment, particularly the damage equipment for Town Hall 18. This is something I discussed when I went over everything we do know about Town Hall 18. I'll link you to that in a moment. Something I did include in that video, actually, because I'm fairly sure they're going to add it, was the removal of event troops in ranked mode. They said it was a high priority, but essentially I do want to see that added. I do want to see improvements to the ranked mode based on anything they've been able to glean from the data so far. As I discussed in my honest review of the ranked mode, it's really hard for them to nail that and get it right from the off because it's a completely new system. However, as they're gathering data, I hope that they are actually using that and can act fast on that to make sure any improvements that are necessary, they implement with this update. Yes, there is some stuff that they will be able to tweak without an update. Any improvements that do require you to download an update. Hopefully they can add with this. Likely moving into next year, I will do another video going over specific updates that I would like to see. I tend to do that video once per year, but clearly moving into 2026, I'd love to see big features again. Yes, new content, but those bigger updates like the removal of training time, major changes to make the game better. Clearly, that is something that we need to continue seeing. So I hope you enjoyed listening. I wanted to bring this anyway, even though I didn't get time to sit down with Itsu for it. Hopefully we do next year, but I will pop on your screen everything we know about Town Hall 18. And even though sneak peeks will be on my main channel, I will give my honest review right here on this channel. Enjoy the rest of your day.